on praying Jummah. I think you'd probably be hard pressed to find somebody who loves Jummah more than me. SubhanAllah, Allah, put that in my heart that I've always loved Friday, even before I really understood Jummah or like had the Jummah prayers. And it's something I've really always appreciated. So it really hurts me to miss Jummah. I quite frankly, I hate it. But at the same time, Islam is a religion of intellect, of logic. We are a religion and a faith of understanding things. And of course, we have routines and we have habits and we have rituals. But this is the importance of understanding the principles of how our jurisprudence, how our laws work, how our rulings work, is that, Sharia, the Islamic law, protects 5 things. And of the utmost importance amongst those is the preservation of human life. And so maybe in a perfect world, if everybody who, anybody who even had a cough or even a regular cold or anything that's like questionable in the least, if they all stayed home and it was just all, younger people with healthy immune systems, and I was confident in that, then maybe I would say, sure, go ahead and pray Jama'ah. But unfortunately, I think people are, not as cautious as they should be. And so even if you yourself are a young and healthy person, then I still think in this scenario, out of the principle of preserving human life, inshallah, it's probably better to not pray Jama'ah. That's the opinion I'm taking myself. And instead, you can pray Dhuhr in your house. And inshallah, there's precedent from that. But like I said, inshallah, follow up and try to get a more official ruling than that. So I want to start off with subhanallah, right? And I was very intentional in picking my words, not just because my older brother would pick apart my words for the first like 15 years of my life, which drove me nuts, because I'm like, you know what I'm trying to say, but at the end of the day, you have to pick your words carefully. And so I chose COVID contemplations, not COVID causes, not, why is this happening, right? Because at the end of the day, contemplation is just a reflection. It's me thinking about the situation and trying to derive some meaning from it, but not saying this happened because of this, right? The reason why the virus happened is because of this. The reason is really, to put it simply, because Allah commanded, because Qadr Allah, because Allah decreed it. And I know that's, and we're going to get inshallah into the contemplations and we can talk about the different things, but it's fundamental inshallah that we start off with this basis. And this is under the first category of subhanallah. What does subhanallah mean? When I first started to learn about, a convert asked me, what does subhanallah mean? It means, well, so, these things that we say every day, we don't really fully understand them. And subhanallah, it has to do in Arabic with the root of like being above something. When someone says someone's magnanimous, it means they're like literally above it. Like they're not going to get into petty things. They float above it, right? Just like someone who's swimming is floating above the water in a sense. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is exalted. He is above all of that which anyone associates with him, because Allah is literally Allahu Akbar. He is perfection. Allah is the most magnanimous in that he is generous and he does things that is in his perfect wisdom, right? Which are not things that we can fully contemplate, and certainly not things that we can contemplate in a 30-minute YouTube clip or in a day of reflection. I mean, you're talking about some of the answers and questions to the most critical points of the universe, and then we are sometimes unfortunately caught in that trap of always trying to explain this, why. No, intellect, yes, it has a place. And of course we are, like I said, a religion of logic and faith. But at the same time, first intellect has to establish the credibility of authentic knowledge. Once that's established, that's why the Sahaba, Samana wa Atana, they heard and they obeyed. Why? This came from Allah, right? And so therefore, we're not questioning Allah's judgment. We can try to reflect, we can try to learn the wisdoms, but it's first and foremost, we should understand that this is in Allah's plan. And so alhamdulillah, Allah is surely perfect and above all that which we associate with him, including any bad opinions of why would Allah do this. Astaghfirullah. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know Allah, we know he is the most excellent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is loving of his creature. He is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, that chose his 2 names to start every surah in his book with, except for one surah. This is who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. So we must assume that. Why? Because Allah decreed it, and we are happy with his wisdom, and inshallah we ask for patience to make it through. So, and on that note, sometimes we think, well, why this, why that? Well, don't you think Allah had your idea? Don't you think Allah knows your idea, rather? So why do we think that our idea, our created idea from our created selves, could somehow outweigh the creator? of all ideas, things, and all things that exist. Allah surely encompasses all of those things and is well aware. So inshallah, we should start off with that foundation. And of course, one critical point on this topic is that a pillar of faith, right? Because there's 5 pillars of Islam, but there's 6 pillars of faith. And a whole pillar of faith is that the good and the bad come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's something critical to understand. Bad, and I say bad quotation marks, right? Because what is bad? Bad to us, because we think, well, this is a bad result. But bad really depends on what your intended purpose is, right? So, it might be bad for me to not eat this donut because I want it and it's delicious. But if my goal is to be healthier and to lose weight, then ultimately that's a good thing. And so really, what's your end game? All right, that's going to determine good and bad. And we believe that everything good and bad that we perceive comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's a pillar of faith. And so we should assume well of Allah. If we take nothing else from this reflection, assume well of Allah. Don't be people who are always looking to pick apart the words. Let's not be people who are trying to always think of, well, that doesn't make sense. Explain it to me. First of all, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So assume well. Allah is the most magnificent. So we have to have that assumption and start off, and then we see through that lens. Then we try to look and have these COVID contemplations, inshallah. And one thing that really came to my mind in this regard was the angels when they say, subhanaka, قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Exalted above you are Allah, right? We have no knowledge except that which you taught us. And indeed, it is you who is the knowing, the wise, right? And this is when the angels are confused about the human beings being created, when the jinn before them are causing chaos, right? And they say something that's fascinating to me because why? Well, because it seems so obvious, right? Okay, the angel said, well, we have no knowledge except for that which you taught us. And when I hear them, like, yeah, obviously, right? But when you really kind of take it a level deeper, which I did when I saw people starting to kind of do weird things now, right? Because we can't give high fives. So sometimes people be giving like elbow fives, or like weird things. And I'm just thinking like, well, imagine that was the norm. Like, I only think that's weird because, I only think that's weird because I'm so used to seeing handshakes. And so if everybody always did elbow fives, then I would just think that's normal, right? And that would be the norm. And so it kind of also made me think about this one Twilight Zone episode, which probably many of you haven't watched those kind of episodes. Some of them are very interesting. And make a long story short, there was an episode called Beauty's in the Eye of the Beholder. And it was about this person, and they were like so ugly, and they never showed you the person throughout the episode, but everyone was like, oh my God. And whenever they would come, it would be like, you feel so bad for them. And they had all these operations and they kept going back in the emergency room. And then at the end, right, they're like, oh, we're so sorry. Like, we just can't help you. And they pan to the person, and the person is beautiful, and they turn to all the other people, and the other people are so ugly. It was horrible. But it was beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Why? Because that's what they knew. Those people, that's what they considered beauty. It was only what they knew, right? And so this goes back to subhanaka, right? We don't, exalted are you, Allah. We cannot base what we know based off of what we know. That's circular, right? And so we don't know anything except for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us. So then we cannot begin to judge these critical times, like these things that are happening to us within our knowledge. Of course, like I said, we can contemplate, we can reflect, we can adjust, but we cannot say, well, this is a bad thing because, people are harmed or people are losing their jobs or whatever. We don't know except for that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us. And so therefore, it goes back to having that trust and faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on that note, of course, belief in the unseen, right? What is Iman? Iman is not just faith. It's not, no, it's literally specifically belief in the unseen. And the unseen is not just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? The plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is unseen, and we believe in that too. And so now people are starting to get familiar with this concept. Can you see the virus? No, you cannot see the virus. And yet everyone believes in it, right? And so it's just calling us closer in our minds to that spirituality, to the belief in the unseen, including the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is truly a wake-up call for us, right? And a wake-up call is a good thing. On myself, when I'm sleeping. Probably an earthquake could happen around me, and, you're not going to wake me up. And so I need that, if I go to a hotel, that wake-up call, right? And that probably won't even be enough. But it's a service that you can have, Why? Because if you don't get that wake up call, you might miss an important meeting. You might miss the whole reason why you travel to that city, right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you the wake up call, giving me the wake up call, saying, wake up. This is the whole reason that you are traveling here. This is the whole reason. So don't miss your meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and wake up. And that is surely a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's a reminder, of course, that this is something that we're dealing with now. And it's a reminder of death, which is a very real thing. And along those lines, people sometimes ask, is this a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or is this a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And I think the answer is both. The answer is both. First of all, it's different for different people. So one thing can be a mercy for one person and a punishment for others. And actually, I've literally experienced this. Alhamdulillah, right now, I am chilling with my family, having a great time. I'm not belittling, and we should not, and we'll get into that, belittle the virus or anything like that, taking my precautions. But alhamdulillah, Allah used this as an opportunity to bless me with some time with my family that I'm truly enjoying. And yet other people are having fear in their hearts, because the world is everything to them. And so they are worried about losing money and everything like that, whereas I'm being given relaxation. And so it can be a mercy and a punishment for people at the same time. And scholars have defined that as it's a mercy if it takes you closer to Allah, generally speaking, and it's a punishment if it brings you further from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, generally speaking, right? But another thing is the punishment is the mercy, subhanallah, right? Who is the real loser? The real loser is the one who day of judgment comes and goes, life comes and goes, and day of judgment comes, and they're surprised. What happened? During life, they were going, everything was fine. They were rich, they were killing it. They had the Aston Martin, they had the house on the beach, and then they died. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He takes their soul, right? All of a sudden, with no wake-up call, right? Of course, they had the signs. Allah doesn't take people into account without actually giving them the knowledge and sending them the information. But the point is, this wake-up call, this punishment, right, is a chance for you to be gaining a wake-up call, or even repenting for your sins in this world. And so that punishment in and of itself is a mercy. And I thought about in this regard, imagine, for example, I tell my brother, hey, put your shoes in the shoe rack, right? Don't just leave them on the floor, right? And then the next time he comes, and then he just leaves them on the floor and not in the shoe rack. And then I kick him out of the house, right? Well, that's harsh. Like, there was no kind of warning, right? But if I am very serious and say, listen, if you do this again, I'm going to flip out. You will never live here again. And I'm serious about it. And I show him that, then that's much more of a mercy. And this is the way the Quran is that it tries to really wake us up. There's no there's no PC way to tell you about hell. It's a horrible place. Allah just tells you that. What a horrible, wretched place. It's literally despicable. You don't want to be. So He gives us that graphic depiction, and He's giving us this option, this opportunity to understand that this is actually a rahmah. And I won't get into all the political details, because that's a whole nother topic, and I won't get into China's 50-year public plan about world domination. You can get into that on your own. But I will touch on France, who, subhanAllah, right? We've not French people, and this is an important distinction. The French government, has been particularly hostile to the Muslims, especially with the covering the face. And subhanAllah, now look at them covering their face, and they're the ones in the most panic, right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, have you not seen that we destroyed nations greater than you? Greater. Yeah, like, you think you're killing it? You think you're doing good? How your GDP is great? Good. Better than that. People used to, these other people used to carve homes into mountains. They were smarter than you, faster than you, richer than you, and we destroyed them too. So haven't you seen that, right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Humazah, يَحْسَبُ أَنَّ مَالَهُ أَخْلَدَ كَلَّا, right? So do you think that your wealth is going to protect you? Like, Day of Judgment, you're going to pay somebody off. Like, kalla, like, no way. Forget about it. It's not going to happen. So subhanAllah, that's something that's, again, a wake-up call for us to think about death. Because in Surah Nuh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and wherever you may be, death will overtake you, even if you should be within the lofty towers of lofty construction. But if good comes to them, they say, this is from Allah. And if evil comes to them, they say, this is from you. Say, all things are from Allah. So what is the matter with those people that they can hardly understand any statement? right? So subhanallah, Allah's giving us such a clear depiction. Don't, if something good happens to me, alhamdulillah, life is great. Something bad happens to me, oh my God, this is from them and this person caused this. No, the good and the bad come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it comes for a wisdom and it comes for a reason, even if we can't see it. And we cannot protect ourselves. And when you hear these ayahs from the Quran, when I hear these ayahs from the Quran, the point is not to say, oh yeah, lofty towers, those, princes and, from those Arab countries or whatever, like, yeah, they're gonna see. No, that's also a warning for us. We live in lofty towers, right? Maybe not an actual physical lofty tower, but our life here in the West world is a physical tower. It's a figurative tower, right? Where we have this sense of security. We have this, but I have a degree, right? But I have a Juris Doctorate, so I'm set, right? I have a car, I have this, I have that. I got all my, I'm up to date with my medical history. But that lofty tower, as you can see now, can rapidly fall down because, it's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is blessing us with and letting us know that no matter where you are, death is going to come to you. It's going to. So you just have to prepare for it, and it doesn't have to be a horrible thing. Of course, it's a challenge and a fitna we go through, but inshallah, that this is an opportunity to really actually think about death, right? Because everyone says this, and this is sometimes what's frustrating. People say, every soul shall taste death, and we love talking about it, and we love Instagramming about it, and we love messaging about it. But really, though, did you really think you're going to die? Like, have you ever really actually felt like, oh, I actually might die? Some of us maybe have been in a near-death experience, and maybe you do know what I'm talking about. Other of us, maybe this is the first time we actually felt, oh shoot, I could actually die. Not like in theory, not like academically, but like in reality, right? That I actually could die, and I actually will die, and I could die from this situation, and so therefore, it's actually bringing it closer to my mind. And so this is definitely a rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we have that realization before it's too late. And when you see all of the panic and what's going on, then what about on the day of judgment, right? What about as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Surah Luqman, where no child will help a parent and no parent can help the child. If this is what's happening with this kind of case, imagine on the day that the mountains are crumbling into dust. Then this is a reminder from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I had the good fortune to, before I get into that, I'll tell you a quick story. There was an imam, and he told one of his students, why don't you lead the prayer? And the student said, no, Imam, how can I lead? You lead, you take the lead. I can't lead. And he said, no, the teacher said, please, I want you to lead. And then the student said, okay, I'll lead if you lead the prayer tomorrow morning. And so the Imam said, subhanallah, if you think that we're going to live till tomorrow morning, then you're not fit to be the Imam tonight, right? And so this is the mentality we must have. Tomorrow is literally not guaranteed. Not a quote. This is an actual fact. And I was just reading earlier about how there is a hadith in Sahih Bukhari, right? That nobody who has anything that can be inherited, anything, right, whether it be the most minimal thing, should sleep 2 nights in a row without having a will. And that was scary for me. Astaghfirullah, unfortunately, I don't have one yet, and I need to do it ASAP. And there's actually a great website. I haven't used it yet, but it's called mywasiya.com or something like that. If you search for it, Joe Bradford. And it looks to be a great resource, so we can follow up on that, inshallah. But the point is, we got to be ready for death. We got to prepare for it. We got to act like it's a reality. It is a reality. And for one of the cases I was working on, I was potentially going to serve as an expert witness for this family law case, and it was unfortunately a dissolution of marriage. The marriage was breaking up, and so I had to put together a resume highlighting obviously my Islamic credentials, and that was quite an exercise. Because it was a pretty empty resume, unfortunately. Alhamdulillah, Allah blessed me with certain opportunities and situations, and it was there. But it made me realize, wow, this is what I'm submitting to Allah. And so I encourage all of you, why don't you write your Islamic resume, right? What have you done for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Because in reality, we haven't done anything. Allah doesn't need us. It's not, if all the people who are most pious, it wouldn't help Allah at all. It would not even increase His dominion one single drop. And if all of us turned against Allah, would not decrease His dominion one single drop. So the real question is, what have we done for ourselves, right? And so that we don't be the ones, ya laytani, قدمت حياتي, right? Oh my Lord, like what is going on the day of judgment? You're shocked, why did I not send something for myself? So send something for yourself, inshallah. And I think that starts with writing yourself an Islamic resume so that you can keep track, and inshallah you can be encouraged to do more, and to be benefiting yourself and the ummah more often. So we need to get knowledge. We don't need toilet paper. Alhamdulillah, this is one thing that's kind of a blessing in disguise. All of these things that they're doing, they're shutting down bars, they're making wudu 5 times a day. We have all of these things in our houses Islamically, that we're a religion and a faith of purity. And so, we have a limited need for these things that people focus on, like, and so for us, we're not freaking out about toilet paper, but we need to freak out about knowledge. I'm not saying don't get that, don't misunderstand me, of course, do all the normal things. But the point is, it's just a panic that people feel like, I need this necessity, right? But toilet paper is not your most basic necessity. Your most basic necessity is knowledge, because now everybody's passing around those du'as and those hadiths and everything to protect you, right? And that's not the time for it. Alhamdulillah, right now it is the time, if we haven't had it yet. But the people who are benefiting the most are the people who already prepared. And so they already know these du'as, they already have them memorized, they're already reciting them every time, 3 times a day. So this is the people who, and if you're just trying to get up to speed now, you're behind the 8 ball, so to speak. And so, you need faith before the calamity. People often talk about patience, and what I've realized is that patience isn't something you can manufacture in the moment. It's just not. Patience is you build it over time, and then you can use it. If you have that reservoir, that depository of patience, now, yes, I can use it because, alhamdulillah, I already thought through these situations. I already purified myself. And so I have now the ability to do this. So we have to gain that knowledge before, and we have to follow the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ of the 5 before 5, right? And take advantage of 5 before 5, your youth before your old age, your health before your illness, riches before your poverty, and your free time before your work, and your life before your death. And this is something, again, I'm sure we have all heard this hadith millions of times, probably, or 100 times, whatever it is, but we know it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ عَلَى الْقُرْآنِ, right? He says, don't they contemplate the Quran, right? Don't we think about the hadith, right? So Allah didn't say, haven't they heard the Quran? He didn't say, haven't they, read a surah? Don't they contemplate? And that is what we're largely missing these days. And we have to actually contemplate, because if we contemplate, yes, absolutely. Again, this is very serious. It is. It's a pandemic. I mean, that's as serious as it gets. It's the world is in a frenzy. But there are daily dangers that are just as bad. Not just as bad in that it might not be directly life-threatening, but it's threatening to your soul, right? What about your soul? At least if you die and you're on the right path, or you're seeking good things and your sincerity is pure, inshallah, you'll be accepted. You're good. You made it, right? But what if your body is alive and your soul is dying or dead? That is the true tragedy and the true travesty, and something that's just unacceptable. There's hasad out there. Yes, if you have an auto parent, or even they'll probably remind you, hasad. Everything is hasad, to the point where it drives you nuts. But having said that, it is true. There is a lot of hasad out there, and it's a real thing. The Prophet ﷺ said it's haqq. So we have to then take our precautions. And it's not just hasad. There is the invisible follower, right? There's literally shayateen following you around. Imagine if you walked out of your house and there was some dude and he had like a ski mask on. This dude's dressed in all black and he's got a crowbar. And then you walk and he just starts following you. You get in your car, he gets in the passenger seat. You'd be like freaking out. You want to stay strapped. You need a gun. You need something to protect yourself from this evil, right? And so this is why every day Shaitan is following you closely, running through your blood, right? And putting thoughts in your mind, putting waswasa in your heart, through the songs, through different television shows that we're watching, through all of these different things. These are things that are poison to the soul. And so shouldn't we then protect ourselves against that, against those viruses? Absolutely. And there's some very basic ones that I'd like to advise you of. One of them is Ayat al-Kursi. My brother-in-law, mashallah, he's a great guy, and he kind of set the path for me, and he was practicing much more diligently than I was. And when I started to learn the benefits of Ayat al-Kursi, I was very upset with him. I told him, like, how could you know all of these benefits and you didn't reprimand me for saying you need to read Ayat al-Kursi every single day? So what I'm telling you guys, so that you don't have, that ill feeling, if anyone is not aware of the blessings of Ayat al-Kursi and how much protection it gives you, and wallahi, I've experienced this so many times in my life, then please, I encourage you, look it up, memorize Ayat al-Kursi. It's really not that long. Read it after every salah. It literally takes, 45 seconds, and inshallah, you will find yourself extremely blessed. That's one protection, Ayat al-Kursi. The second one, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah Al-Nas, 3 times each, right? And then you can either blow it, read it in your hand and blow it on yourself, or, and that feels great, and that's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, or he also would you can just recite the 3, and sometimes what I do myself, inshallah, when I'm driving every morning, so that it's a routine and it's easy, that's the first thing I do when I get in the car. And then, of course, when I'm driving, I can't really blow sometimes, so I'll just recite it, inshallah. And that will protect you from everything, inshallah. So that's something we absolutely need to keep in mind. And then the very simple dua of Bismilladhi la yadurru ma ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa la fis sama'i wa huwa as-sami'ul alim, right? In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is in control of the heavens, by whose name no one can harm anything in the heavens or the earth, right? So this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He can protect you from everything. He created the heavens and the earth, and he can surely protect you from what's inside them. So just say that 3 times in the morning and in the evening, and you will be fine. And so Ayat al-Kursi, Khalas, Falaq, and Nas, 3 times. And Ayat al-Kursi, by the way, angels will follow you throughout the day. Depending on how many times you say it, that's how many angels. And if you read it before you go to sleep, you're protected from shaitan. Ikhlas, Falaq, and Nas, and then Bismillah, that dua that I just said. And the last one is Bismillahi tawakkaltu ala Allahi la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Right? Bismillahi tawakkaltu ala Allahi la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And I see we're getting at 105, so inshallah I'm getting to the last section here. Not really, I have a lot more to go, but you guys just comment on the in the comments, inshallah, that we can whether you want to speed it up or not, inshallah. But I'll do my best to be expeditious, inshallah. The last protection is that dua that I just read, Bismillahi tawakkaltu ala Allahi. What I love is sometimes when you read the description of these things, right? It's nice to read the dua. It's nice to read the meanings. It's nice to read the transliteration and to memorize. But it literally says, there's a hadith about this, that one shaitan turns to another and says, what can you do with a man or woman who's protected all day? Like he turns to the other shaitan. So I'm like picturing this in my mind, and I'm like laughing. Like I want to turn to the shaitan as I walk out and say that, like, better luck next, tomorrow, shaitan, I'll catch you. Because it's hilarious. He turns to his friend like, what am I supposed to do now? There's basically an invisible force field around him. So basically they're screwed for the day. And so, part of my language, but, inshallah, I want to try to bring it closer to our minds, that, these du'as, it seems very simple, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the truth, and from him is the truth, and his prophet was true, and his word is true, and his promises are certainly true. And so we can just take these little times to memorize the dua. And I haven't memorized them. I used to print these out, and I would read it every day as a dua, and then from there it would I would memorize them from having read them many times. So don't feel overwhelmed, and even if you say them in English, whatever you can do, inshallah, just build on it, inshallah. So that brings us to Alhamdulillah. We cover Subhanallah, right? And when we get together for khutbahs, I like to say Alhamdulillah, right? And sometimes it might feel like, oh yeah, that's just like the thing to say, Alhamdulillah. But no, look now we don't actually have the Jummah. Who could have thought, oh yeah, Alhamdulillah, but we're going to be here every week, right? So I mean, literally, that's what we were thinking, right? But look, now we're not, right? And so actually, Alhamdulillah, really Alhamdulillah in heart and spirit, as well, not just in, by the tongue. And so we should appreciate the normal blessings that we have in our life. The things that we usually complain about, like school or going to work, people miss that now. Of course, yes, there's struggles and challenges, but we really, really, really have to protect ourselves. One thing, inshallah, we can discuss in the future is the tongue, which the Prophet ﷺ told Mu'adh, is there anything except for the tongue that drags people into the hellfire? Basically, this is so big. And so we have to watch what we say and watch what we complain. And another fascinating thing is that in the beginning of the khutbahs, you always hear وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا يَصْلِحْ لَكُمْ أَعْمَالَكُمْ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and say a good word, and Allah will forgive you of your sins and grant you to do good righteous deeds, which will be good for you, right? And so it's interesting that order. It's not like Allah says do good deeds and he'll forgive your sins, and then you think, okay, I'll start to be a good person and then I'll start saying good things. Like that's how the order works. No, Allah actually puts it in reverse. Qulu qawlan sadida. Say a good word and Allah will guide you to righteousness. So that's why it's very important what you say is actually going to lead you in that direction. And so we have to be if we're complaining, that's not the direction you want to be going in. That's ingratitude. And we have to go to gratitude, inshallah. And so, we can actually appreciate these things that we complain for and try not to complain, because people are losing their livelihood, really. They're losing their jobs. People live like this in every day in Palestine, Syria, Kashmir, Burma, right? People are in lockdown. They are in quarantine for life. And so this is really something to bring us closer to them, to make us understand and to be more compassionate. From Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim he is giving us the wisdom of really understanding on a deeper level what it means to be connected, to be one ummah, to actually be hurting in your heart for how people are living, the things they're going through. Even people, it's not just limited to Muslims. You have older people who are in their car for 2 hours by the grocery store because they're afraid to go in and get groceries. That's bad. That's should make you feel horrible, because or not horrible. I mean, it is what it is, but you should feel concerned for that. Like that older people have to go through this, what can we do about this? I mean, obviously there's, we can't put ourselves in danger. We can't put them in danger, but all I want us to get out of it is just a contemplation of a reflection of things are tough for people. 40% or 70%, some people say, it's wild numbers out there, of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck. One thing goes wrong and they're homeless. And then there'll be those people on the street that we look past and we're like, get a job, Astaghfirullah. Most of these people are your neighbors, your friends, and people you see every day, and they're one paycheck away from that. One paycheck, one thing like that. And by the way, people are getting cut. People are losing. The companies are like, oh yeah, I know you did these things for us for like 20 years. Appreciate that. You're all laid off. Or like, we're going to just stop paying you for like 2 months. This is a catastrophe. And so, please let us not, belittle these things by, we have real concerns, and the things we're going through is absolutely real. I don't want to diminish that, but there are people who are in a tougher situation. And so we should reflect on that, inshallah. And on that note of just people who are struggling, one thing that I really had not contemplated and appreciated was the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he teaches us to take care of the poor. And we know that, like, about giving charity, but I did not realize the status of the poor. They have a very high status. And I'm saying poor, like, Allah ghani, like we are the poor and Allah is the rich, the independent. But I'm talking about what you're thinking of material terms, the materially poor. And Sulaiman alayhi salam, the king of kings, who Allah's the king of kings, but the king of kings here on mankind, on earth, right? Who had literally the biggest dominion here and had all the riches. And he would have people standing outside of his kingdom, outside of his palace. And the rich people would be posted up, right? And outside, and he would walk right by them, right to the poor people. And he would sit amongst them with his head down and say, miskin min al-masakin, a poor person amongst the poor, And so we are taught that victory is given through the poor. We all think that if Drake converts to Islam, we're going to kill, like we won. That's how we win, right? Matthew McConaughey, right? We just need, whoever, any of these famous stars, Brad Pitt, to convert to Islam, and then we're going to make it, right? And that's just not true. The truth is that we will be given victory through the poor, because who gives victory? Allah. And Allah told us, I will give it to you through the poor. So then we're just going through our intellect and saying, yeah, but we need this and that. And there's a good thing to that. I'm not saying that. Alhamdulillah, Muhammad Ali helped so much in Islam, Malcolm X, right? So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with using wealth or power. That's all good things. But I'm talking to you about true victory. The true Islamic triumph is through the poor. And so we need to have, someone said, I was doing diversity and inclusion planning in the legal realm, and someone said something that really struck me. They said, if you want to see how diverse and inclusive you are, check who's at your wedding and who's at your funeral. Right? And I said, subhanAllah. Like, so if you want to say, yes, we really interact with the poor, how many of your friends are really, in a different social class than you, are really different ethnicities than you? How much are we really living the Sahaba lifestyle, the Sunnah, and inshallah, it's just a reminder to us that, we cannot belittle the poor. And subhanAllah, I saw like a YouTube video. It was really upsetting. Somebody was begging and they was just like videotaping it and they were asking for food. And this guy literally took fries and dumped it on this guy, the beggar's head, and said, get a job. And that broke my heart. I mean, stuff for the law. Like, you just don't know where people are coming from. I'm not telling you that people don't scam the system or people don't cheat, but Allah does not tell you that that's your job. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't donate to more reliable sources than on the street. I mean, my policy is, if you're going to give like a significant donation, absolutely do your research. Make sure you go through an accredited institution, inshallah. But if somebody asks you on the street, inshallah, if you haven't, just give them $1, give them $5, whatever. Allah, charity does not decrease your wealth, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ بَلْ تُكْرِمُونَ. And then in another ayah, right? بَلْ تُكْرِمُونَ الْيَتِيمَ كَلَّا بَلْ تُحِبُّ الْمَالَ حُبًّا جَمًّا. Right? So honor the orphan, honor the poor people, but no, you love money, right? And so let's not be like that, inshallah. Let's honor the poor people and just use this opportunity, this COVID contemplation, to realize that, wow, people are struggling, and even just a little bit struggle threw me into a frenzy, switch my world upside down. Then what about these other people and what they're going through? And let's have appreciation for each other, inshallah. And I'll take just a second to thank Brother Abdullah, who has, mashallah, that genuine concern for the ummah. And while everyone was thinking about how they can square away their own issues and affairs, Brother Abdullah is thinking of you, and this is a key trait of a Muslim, is that genuine concern for others. And I know that when I was around, and maybe things have changed, I doubt it, but when I was around, it was like, MSA, what are they doing? Or this event sucked, or like the chicken was cold and it was dry, And maybe those things are true, but stuff for Allah, again, goes back to the complaining. MSA is not like it's not the Ritz. It's not like a thing. You are MSA. Are you a Muslim? Are you a student? Good, you're MSA. You know what I'm saying? We're MSA. I'm MSA. We're all in this together. And one time I got in trouble at the masjid for saying this during Ramadan, because people were like being really rude to the people who were serving. And I told them, listen, if you drive 2 miles down the road that way, make a left, that's holiday. And if you're looking for great service, this is a community. Like, we each contribute, and like, we need to be respectful of each other. And so, language barrier, whatever it is, and some sisters misunderstood and got upset. So stuff with Allah. But my point is that we have to actually understand that, people like Brother Abdullah, who are thinking outside the box, who are really contributing, alhamdulillah for them, alhamdulillah for everyone, because the people were all interdependent. And that's something fascinating that I had studied biology in undergrad. And you know what they said, the only difference really between humans and other animalistic species was kinship independent social cooperation. What is that? Basically, we unite and cooperate outside of our family. We're the only species that does that, right? That and opposable thumbs, but we won't get into the opposable thumbs. But they said, essentially, that's what differentiates us as humans, is that we actually communicate. We actually work with each other. It takes a village to raise a child. And subhanAllah, I was talking to my mother this morning, and she was telling me about that, how like her mother would be, we have a big family, alhamdulillah, and her mother would be upset when she was having a child. And I was like, why would your mom be upset? Like, you're having a child. And she told me, well, because I was, in America and not with her, whereas my other sisters, they were all with her. And so they all raised their children together. You know what I'm saying? And I said, subhanAllah, like, where is that concept? Everything is so on my own, my family, my work, my this, my. It's crazy. This is not from the Islamic tradition to my, it is we work together. And even again, we work with mankind. We are the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we absolutely need to keep this in mind, inshallah. We have to take advantage of the opportunities that we're given, inshallah. Last, inshallah, is Allahu Akbar, okay? And on this note, it's we have no control, right? And we're completely dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that has become a manifest reality to us now, is that we say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-azim, right? But at the end of the day, we don't realize, what does that mean, that there is no strength or power to do good or refrain from doing evil except by the favor and blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What does that actually mean? What it actually means is, again, even if you're rich, even if you have all the resources, at the end of the day, Allah is showing us that He is actually the one in control. We are dependent on Him. Every single breath, every single moment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is keeping us alive. Every reality is contingent upon the one, the only, Al-Qahar, right? The one who is the one, absolutely, the dominion is in his control. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who keeps the world going. And sometimes we are deluded to think that, we are the ones in control. And I'm not saying, again, our actions have effects. Our actions are real and they matter. Okay. But at the end of the day, it only matters through if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will something or not will something. At the end of the day, Allah is the one in absolute control. And one thing that helped bring this to my mind, and one thing, inshallah, we can try to work on is learning the names of Allah because it's truly beneficial. And there was an example given about Ar-Razzaq. Ar-Razzaq, the provider, right, is the one who provides. But understanding the different mechanisms by which he provides is very important. And there was an example given about this guy who wanted to have a very halal income, right? And it was very important to him. And subhanAllah, again, it shows us, kind of how far we strayed away from these key disciplines. Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal, he was taught by Imam Shafi'i. And Imam Shafi'i told him, like, you should work for the state. You should be a judge for the state. And Imam Shafi'i said, Imam Ahmad said, if you ask me that again, I will never show up to your class. So I said, subhanallah, like this is, Imam Ahmad and Imam Shafi'i. Why did Imam Ahmad say that? Because he felt that, he didn't want to make a salary from something that had even questionable doubt in it, right? And that's why it's so important to give zakat, because it purifies your wealth if there are doubtful matters. And of course, we can never get it from haram matters. But the point is that he was very concerned about getting wealth from pure sources. And so was this person who was applying for a job in the nonprofit realm. So he applied for about a month and then, received a call from a job he didn't even apply to and got hired by that job. So that actually tells us a lot about Ar-Razzaq, which is you have to make the effort. And that's the example of this guy applying to all these different jobs, right? But at the end of the day, Allah can give you a mechanism through that effort you made, or just completely outside the box, because just like he gave that person a job through a job he didn't even apply to, that is Ar-Razzaq, is that he can do either or, right? Your efforts are relevant, but at the end of the day, Allah is the one who provides. So don't think that I studied so I should get an A. Don't think that I worked hard so I should get this, right? No, these are all blessings and favors from Allah, and we do our best, and whatever Allah gives us in result is something that, inshallah, we can be patient with, and that will be better for us. It's a humbling experience that we're going through. Death does not discriminate amongst anybody, and that includes all the famous people here that we know of, like Rudy Gobert, for example. SubhanAllah, he's like an NBA player. And he was like belittling the disease and touching all the mics. I'm sure, many of you heard this story. And then he contracted the virus, right? So this type of arrogance is something that, we cannot have, because Allah is showing the people who are arrogant, He is humbling them. You thought you had money and you were protected. Oh, you had business interruption insurance. Well, guess what? Your business is interrupted. Allah is bringing those people who believe they are high and mighty to understand the high and mighty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this is taqwa, awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the only true difference in people. It's not the wealthy or the poor, the Arab and the non-Arab, or the white and the black, and these short and the tall. This is not the difference between human beings. The only true difference is, atqakum, the one who has the most taqwa, right? And that is what we should gain from this, inshallah. And I'll close the last section with this, inshallah, and I appreciate your guys' patience. Is that taqwa is awareness, essentially. Yes, fear of Allah, consciousness of Allah, awareness of Allah is really the most accurate, in my opinion. And that is what we are experiencing now. Look now, people don't want to shake hands, right? They don't want to be in the presence of other people, right? Why? Because they are aware of the fact that might be negative. It might be harmful, detrimental to your physical health. But what about your spiritual health? When you're around other people, your soul is being affected, right? When you are touching certain things or you are seeing certain things, your soul is being affected. So taqwa is that awareness, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and everything that he manifests for you, whether it be the people around you or the things around you or the situations you're in or the classes you're in or the job you've been through or the experience you live through. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he is the one who is the master of that script. And so all you can do is just try and be aware and try to understand, what does Allah want me to gain from this? And be careful. Just like you're so careful to touch the knob right now, then be careful, what you let into your soul, because surely that is more detrimental than anything that can harm your body, is these things that we let in every single day, filth every single day, just into our minds. We're watching it, we're listening, all this stuff, just letting it flood your soul. These are viruses of the soul. Our souls are dying. So inshallah, we can be more aware of that situation, because this is truly an intervention. It's an intervention from ourselves, right? And subhanallah, you see now that literally the fish and the swan are back in Venice, like the dolphins are back in Italy. Japan is getting deer again. I heard that. I was like, what? Yeah, this is what's going on. We are Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are the representatives of Allah, and yet look what we're doing to the earth. This is not from the Islamic tradition to abuse the earth like this, to abuse the animals. Surely they have rights over us. Our bodies have rights over us. Our spouse have rights over us. Our parents have rights over us. Allah has rights over us. Everybody has their rights, and relationships in Islam is key. Basically, Islam is your relationship between you and Allah, and your relationship between you and Allah's other creations. And look at how bad we've let things get. And now even just this little break, this little breather, and nature's like breathing back like that, right? So subhanallah, we need these things. We need the fish in the sea to make dua for the righteous people. We need all of these blessings of having these animals amongst us, and of taking care of the earth as we should, and in pausing, because we often believe that being busy is good, that just always all the time being getting through things is like, yeah, I got to do more, and today I was so productive because I did like 100 things. But that's just not the case. Production is in the pause. That's what's the truth, is that when we pause, when we take that time out, and Allah's forcing us to take a time out right now, he's forcing us to take a time out, then that's when we're truly productive. What is productive anyway, other than accomplishing your goals? Well, what are your goals? I don't know. We're in such a rush. We didn't even think about it. We didn't even write it down. We just have daily goals. But what are those daily goals aligned with the eternal goals? Are we doing what we came here to do? And take your share from the dunya. That's encouraged, inshallah. Benefit from it. Plenty of things we can do. But we have to pause, and we have to stop being so busy, and instead start being truly productive and resourceful and beneficial people. Just like, for example, subhanallah, I've read, and I haven't really thoroughly fact-checked this, although I did try to confirm it, and I always try to make this disclaimer when that is the case, about how Isaac Newton was the one who actually discovered gravity when in the 1600s or so. There was the English plague, and so he had to stay home from Oxford, and that's when he, so to speak, invented calculus and came up with these principles about gravity. So, Allah Adam, with the truth of that, but I've seen it a lot, and I think that there certainly could be the case. And so, let's take that pause. Let's have our own reflections and ideas that are born, and let's break this addiction to dunya, this addiction to, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says, "Alhaakum at-takathur," right? This chase, this rat race, has destroyed you. Hatta zurtum al-maqabir, right? Until you meet the grave. Let's not be those people who, are in this rat race, in this chase, in this love of wealth and building and competing, and until death wakes us up. Inshallah, we use this as the wake-up call, and we use it as a time to reconnect, right? To free ourselves of the addiction of being seen, right? Because that's another thing, Riya is so harmful, and it's something I fear so much, for myself, is that, and for all of us, that we just live in this, social media generation, and it's had such a harmful effect on our souls. And alhamdulillah, there's plenty of benefits of technology like this Zoom meeting and gathering we have. But at the same time, we have been addicted to being seen. And I know that for myself has been the case. And so, subhanAllah, we have to be very careful. Riyah literally will destroy your deeds. Don't be like that scholar who comes on the Day of Judgment and says, I studied for you, O Allah. And Allah said, no, you studied so people say you were smart. And they said you were smart. And then he gets thrown into hellfire. Like the one who memorized the Quran, but it was for the wrong purpose, and he gets thrown into hellfire. So, again, I'm not saying if your intention is not perfect, don't do it. It's just we have to perfect our intention, inshallah. And this is what I've seen as one of the biggest spiritual diseases that we have, is this need to be seen. So Allah is giving us this time to say, you know what, just spend some time with yourself, spend some time with your family, right? And how many times I work with these partners who literally have different cars, 4 to 5 properties, beach houses, all of it. And I asked them, what would you do if you went back in time 30 years to talk to yourself? What would you say? And he said, I would spend time with my family. I would spend time with them. It's the people. You don't remember any of this stuff. He said that. This is not a Muslim. This is someone who's reflecting. These are facts of life. And spend time with yourself, because, some of us, we're two extremes. We either we're in love with ourselves, or, at the end of the day, we are um, we are we hate ourselves, so both are extreme. Just spend some time with yourself. Alhamdulillah, I've experienced that in my life, and sometimes I've had to live alone, or different points of my life when I was in school, and get to know yourself. This is not bipolarism, or like, you're crazy. No, like, literally journal to yourself, think with yourself, get to know who you really are, not necessarily what you've become because of the product of what society has made you, because of all these things and the trends and the things we're trying to keep up with. No, find out who the real you is inside, and meet with yourself and talk to yourself. And whether it doesn't have to be out loud, but just have that conversation internally, to spend some time with yourself. And also, of course, spend some time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Spending time will allow you to know Allah. And if you know Allah, inshallah, you will love Allah. You will love Allah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who has Asma al-Husna, the most beautiful names. And I have, the more that I've seen that you dedicate yourself to the Quran, truly you will experience miracles in your life. And my favorite thing I've seen out of all this to come out is Quran. Quarantine equals Quran time. And a lot of us struggle with it because it's overwhelming. I always thought about that. Why am I having so much trouble trying to connect with the Quran consistently, trying to connect with Allah consistently, right? And the reason is it's overwhelming and you feel insufficient. And so don't worry, just start, just try, just, you don't have to be perfect. Just learn about the seerah, right? The Prophet ﷺ is a human just like you and me, and he can connect us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about learning through his life. Listen to a lecture, whatever benefits you. Make dhikr, make dua, learn the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and really spend time to dedicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah is the best of planners. We surely trust him. We love him. And inshallah, we can be of the patient ones with faith, who are understanding and contemplating what's going on, and have the patience and have the ability to help others and to help ourselves, and to benefit from this situation. May Allah protect us and preserve us and guide us on the straight path. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. And with that, I'll open it to Brother Abdullah to share some questions, inshallah.
So we haven't really had any questions. First of all, Jazakumullahu khairan kathiran, Brother Ahmed. May Allah Ta'ala bless you and reward you and your family. Ameen. And then, so we haven't really had any questions as of yet. If anyone has a specific question, go ahead and throw it in the chat, inshallah, at your convenience. We're still up for about 1-2 more minutes. One thing that I wanted to also share, though, really fast. Let me go ahead and put my whiteboard. Give me 1 second. Can y'all see my whiteboard or not?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. So I just wanted to explain really fast why this virus is actually an issue in the first place. A lot of people don't understand this. So when it comes to the, and this is very important for Muslims to understand, because it cannot be stressed enough, in my opinion, that the masajid that we have are such high risk locations for infections. Because think about it, we're praying foot to foot, shoulder to shoulder, as the imam instructs us. We're making sajda on carpets, and then another person will make sajda on the same carpet in the next salah. So it's a very high risk situation. So the reason that this is such a problem, let me show you. I'm going to show you using a graph. This, I think, is very important for all of us to understand. So Ahmed, you can see my little graph thing, right? Just to be sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when it comes to the coronavirus, 80% of people, according to the primary literature that's coming out, because as we said, we don't know a lot about this disease. It's still coming out. Things are we're not sure about a lot of things. We don't even know what the long-term effects of this disease is. Allahu a'lam. Walakin, what we know is 80% of the people will be fine. They will have mild symptoms and they won't have that much of an issue. 20% of the people who get the COVID-19 coronavirus, because this is the 19th strain, it's been around for some time, they will have to be hospitalized. Of those 20%, 5% will actually, unfortunately, die. Now, the reason that this is a problem is this. The reason we have to practice social distancing. Let me draw two curves. One curve like this and one curve like this. The curve on top, that shows how the disease will spread if we do not do isolation. It's going to spread exponentially. So this curve right here, as you can see. The second curve under it is going to be what happens if we do practice social isolation. Now let me show you what the real problem is. This line right here, this third line that I'm drawing, that line shows how many hospital beds we have available. And that's what the real issue is. If we do not practice social isolation as a nation, the United States of America, and especially the Muslim community, then the curve that is on top is going to be how the coronavirus spreads. This is how many beds we have, this curve right here. All of these people will die. That's why this is such a big issue. It will reach a point where the medical professionals are saying, and this is exactly what's happening in Italy right now, where the medical professionals will have to deny people hospital beds, wherein they will give them only to the younger people, and older people will be denied, because this is the process that eventually happens when you have limited space in the hospitals. Younger people get preference. And also, if you have a lot of people coming in for coronavirus, younger people aren't still safe, because let's say a younger person comes in with another complication, he won't get treated. We have to practice social isolation to the best of our ability in the coming days. This is essential if we want, and if we don't, that is going to be the result that we will see, where several people will die. And it is the duty of the masajid, and most of them, alhamdulillah, have followed through on this duty wonderfully. The beautiful thing about this pandemic is that the entire Muslim ummah is on the same page for the most part. From Saudi Arabia to Indonesia to Malaysia to Pakistan, India, Turkey, Russia, all the ulama are saying, don't come to the masajid. Stay home. Do not pray. However, it is upon the people now to listen to their leaders, to not go to the masajid, to practice safe cleaning habits, that it is upon us to protect our elderly. If we do not do our job as a society, and I ask that all of you spread this message forward to everyone else, inshallah, if we do not do our job as a society to socially isolate ourselves, to not fall into all these things, the result will be disastrous, and we will lose a lot of our elders. And it goes to the point until that the ulama are saying now that going to the masjid when you think you have the virus, or even because us youth, alhamdulillah, we can have the virus and we won't even know it because we might not present with symptoms. This is a major sin. So it is upon us to follow our leaders and do what they're telling us if we don't want that curve to be what happens. We want the second curve where there are still enough hospital beds for the people. That's a very important message that I wanted to share, inshallah. Khair, does anyone else have any questions? At all, anything at all? You can go ahead and unmute your audio and ask as well.
I have one question. It's me, Asim. Can you hear me?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, Asim.
Regarding like the handshake, we have got a lot of like even the imams have mentioned that we should not shake hands. But like once brothers progresses, find his hand towards you, like what's the best way so that he did not get embarrassed? Because I have seen 1, 2 friends, they got an embarrassed situation even for me to tell them, and they didn't like it. So like what's the best way of dealing with these sort of situation?
Yeah, mashallah, that's a great question. I know exactly what you're talking about. I would say the best way, just like with most things in life, is to try to prevent it before it happens. So instead of waiting till somebody comes to extend their hand, just as soon as you see them, say assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. Then they can get it from far. So you make eye contact from far, assalamu alaikum, and they will understand that, okay, inshallah. Even if you get to the point where that didn't happen and that you're within range that they extend their hand, just do your best. It's just all how you deliver it, right? So, you don't look at the hand and be like, yeah, no, like we're not shaking hands. Yeah, thank you so much, assalamu alaikum. Like, I would love to shake your hand, but, just trying to be safe, inshallah, for like all of us, I think anybody who is a reasonable person, inshallah, completely understand that. And also, I think it's a bit of a test too. Do we care more about, what people think, or like preserving, our health and wellness. So inshallah, it's a learning curve because people are so used and hardwired to like shaking hands. It's hard to break that habit. So a lot of people don't do it intentionally, but inshallah, either do it proactively, assalamu alaikum, far away, or even if they extend their hand, say, oh, thank you so much, I Allah salamak, and may Allah grant you blessings and peace. I just want to try to be as safe as possible, inshallah, and do it with a smile, and inshallah that should help.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Also, from like a religious perspective, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry, Adam. Ahmed, correct me if I'm wrong. But to reply to the salam verbally is wajib, walakin to shake hands is not, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really studied that issue, but for sure, yeah, I mean, that's my understanding is, to reply. And I think what people are getting at too is just awkward, right? We're dealing with this awkwardness. This is awkward for everybody. But yeah, I think, as long as we return the salam and return the love, because that's the essence of salam anyway. That's the problem is now we're like, someone like, and one thing I've learned recently, because I would say salam via text, I don't think we should do that. It's okay to say was salam, but I think it's preferable assalamu alaikum. We shouldn't shorten the salam. Even though we text it, get the barakah every time. Inshallah. Say assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh. It's fine. Just assalamu alaikum, and the essence of that is peace. It's a dua for the other person. Is may peace be upon you, and that's actually what a Muslim is. Someone who is other people are safe from them, safe from their physical danger, also safe from their verbal danger, right? From speaking ill about that person when they're in your absence. So it's also another good opportunity that when we can't physically do the salam, it makes us think about the actual nature of the salam and how we've actually lost a lot of that. And let's return the spirit of salam, assalamu alaikum, and maybe add a dua to it, when you can't shake their head, assalamu alaikum, may Allah preserve you and your family and bless you on the straight path. If somebody's upset with you after that, Allah alam, they have their own issues to deal with.
If anyone has any other questions, just feel free to unmute your mic and ask away, inshallah. Ahmed, if you could talk about one thing, I feel like a lot of people are stressed these days because now that all of our classes are online, self-pacing and all of that. If you could speak a few brief moments on that, perhaps.
Yeah. Procrastination has definitely been one of my key, weaknesses that I've had to overcome. And it's still in the process, inshallah. So I totally understand that. What I would say is, again, it's a blessing that we learn how to not procrastinate and be self-driven now, before the stakes get even higher as you progress in life. If you're still procrastinating with your bills and with your finances and with your career development and with your spirituality, then that's just something at the end of the day, that's going to be difficult for you to overcome. So now is a good time to deal with it. So I would just say, come up with a schedule is the first thing, right? You don't have to be married to it. I mean, it doesn't have to be the same exact thing every single day. Even if you have a plan, that's not the point, is to replicate that plan every single day. The point is to just have a plan, right? Those who fail to plan to fail. So have a plan, and it's also one thing I found that's beneficial is adjust the plan as you go. So almost always I'll make an initial plan. I'll be like breakfast, and then I'll maybe I'll read some Quran, and then I'll work on physics for an hour or two, and then I'll take a break, and then I'll come back and do 3 hours of studying, whatever. And then I find that over the week that didn't really go well. But what I did find was starting off doing whatever other class, calculus class in the morning. I like calculus more, and so it was helpful for me to start that first and to do the science later in the day. And it was helpful to do 1 hour sessions, with breaks instead of 3 hour blocks. So it's a learning curve, and everyone is different. But it kind of goes to when we talked about procrastination earlier. You know, definitely Google those resources. There's so many good ones out there, and then keep trying and just make it an intention and a focus. Well, that's the biggest thing to overcome. Once you actually realize it's a problem and you actually address the problem, because mostly what we address is the thing, like the physics homework or the chemistry lab or whatever. So then you're just like a mice in that thing that just keeps running around. We have to actually address the main problem, which is a lack of scheduling, lack of planning. So I would just say have a schedule, have a routine, then adjust to the routine as you see what's been successful along your week. and then just remain consistent, inshallah. And when you fall off, don't be too extreme on yourself. Just inshallah try to get better, and make dua, of course. Never forget dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make you self-motivated and to give you the tawfiq, the spiritual ability and success.
And please, y'all, keep up, like a PSA, like from a school perspective. Please keep up with your Outlook, and please keep up with your Canvas messages. I was talking to Dr. Hashim earlier yesterday as well, and she's saying that a lot of people are just like not following through with like keeping up with Outlook, and they're missing on lectures. Your teachers are doing lectures online using Zoom. They're doing online discussion hours. So keep up with that, and don't. Now is the time to truthfully move everything remotely and virtually and keep up with all of that. It's really
Definitely.
important.
Definitely.
Oh, and also you talked about like making a routine. That is such a good idea. And especially now that we don't have classes, this is a perfect time to establish an Islamic routine. A lot of us have, I know, tried. A lot of you come to me with these issues, brothers and sisters, that I've been trying to wake up for Fajr for months now. I just can't make the routine. Now is the perfect time to establish a daily routine around your salahs because you're home all day.
Inshallah.
Starting your day.
That's
Yeah, please.
No, that's a fantastic point. And in the adhan says hayya al salah, hayya al falah. We say we usually translate that as come to success, come to the prayer, right? But actually, the way I've heard that described is structure your life around prayer. And I have found that that's also a huge deal. Is like if you're planning a flight, for example, Allah is the most appreciative, and He knows whether you book that flight later just so that you wouldn't interfere with your salah, or you just took the other one because it was $20 cheaper. And again, there's rukhsa, there's licenses, there's excuses that we can make for ourselves that are completely permissible and at times preferable to use, like combining prayers, shortening them, all of that. I'm not saying that. My point is, like you said, brother Abdullah, which is we have to structure our lives. And you're absolutely right. When I was in law school, that was the most beneficial thing that I did in law school, was focusing on structuring my life. And alhamdulillah, it has paid off so much for me because, alhamdulillah, my life has a lot of stress removed from it because of the focus on, trying to really get my spirituality and get the, starting off the day with the prayer. That first 2 hours, if 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., you can probably get 6 hours worth of work versus try getting between like 4:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. You get the same, like 2 minutes worth of work done there. So there is a barakah to the morning. Absolutely, we could all do our best, inshallah, to establish, wake up, pray Fajr, use that time to get that spiritual peace. That's so important. And again, it's something that I struggle with and back and forth, but alhamdulillah, at the times that I've been able to maintain that, I truly feel the difference between, okay, I woke up, I prayed on time, and I had that hour or two of mental peace and connecting with the Quran. Then I feel like the day is chasing me and I'm in control. Alhamdulillah. Not in control, Allah's in control, but I actually feel like I have some sort of structure and I don't feel stressed. On the days where, okay, I woke up and I'm half asleep and I pray Fajr, Allahu Akbar, and it was like a horrible prayer, and then I fell back asleep, and then I snoozed 3 times, and then I woke up at 8:45 and I, got in the traffic, and I'm, you know what I mean? And then I get there, and it's just like you're chasing the day the whole day. It makes no sense. It's really, really a ridiculous way to live. And unfortunately, many of us live like that our whole lives, and it really makes no sense. So absolutely, it's a huge blessing to just take, again, Allah's forcing us to take a time out, take a look, take a review. What's my day? What do I do? You take an audit of yourself before we're given an audit by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and maybe we be amongst the ones who enter Jannah for Firdaus al-A'la without account.
I mean, I mean. Again, anyone else that has questions, just, hey, Ishman, salam alaikum. Anyone else who has any questions, please just go ahead and feel free to unmute your mic and ask away, inshallah. And let me know,
Okay.
Ahmed, how long you're available until.
Alhamdulillah, I'm here, inshallah. I heard somebody in the with a question.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Can you hear me? Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So because we're isolating ourselves, I wanted to ask, like we have a lot of alone time and a lot of phone time as well on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
So how would you say, like, what is the best advice to avoid fitna,
That's great. Again, great question, mashallah. The best thing to avoid fitna is to occupy yourself with that which is beneficial. Okay, I have heard basically evil can only exist in the absence of good. Okay, so if you are doing things that, and that's why it says salah yanha al-fahsha'i wal munkar, like salah prevents the shameful behavior and the sins. Why? Because you're already doing something. Like if you just have time there, you're basically saying, okay, shaitan, like your move. Like if you're just dilly-dallying, if you're just scrolling down social media, you're kind of setting yourself up. You know what I mean? So number one is, be proactive about, filling your schedule with good things. And good things, again, it doesn't have to all be like reading tafsir and reading Quran. Yes, incorporate that. But I'm saying call your cousin, call your sister, read a book, that you like, study, watch Ertugrul, whatever it is that you find for yourself. Aywallah. Then just try to fill your time with that proactively, and then also, like I said, when you are if you find yourself kind of being unproductive, let's say, then try to connect with other people that can keep you focused, inshallah. So try not to waste time, try to be purposeful, besides being proactive, be purposeful about what you do. Don't just do stuff to do it. You know what I mean? Don't just like search on the internet. Like I said, there's so many things we can get done. Research your will. Something that's fascinating to you. That's another thing, is sometimes I feel like we try to look at stuff that is not our top interest, right? So what I'm saying, say that you're somebody who loves to learn about jinn, okay? Yeah, jinn is good to know about. It's not the most relevant thing, except if you're trying to get protection from shayateen, that's very relevant. But, the whole essence of everything about jinn, it's not the first topic that might have directly applicable relevance to your life. But if that's something that fascinates you, angels or something that fascinates you, then look that up. You know what I'm saying? No need to just go to whatever, but take a purposeful action, be proactive about it. Inshallah, you'll find that you'll be productive. And at the same time, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. Ask Allah for help and be patient. Even if you find yourself in a sin or in something that's not productive, and it's been there and it's for years or for 50 times, just stick with it. Don't stop the good. Allah will pull you out, inshallah. But as long as you have a good opinion of Allah and you stay that in your heart that, no, I want to, guide myself to what's good, and protect myself, that's very important. And inshallah, Allah might test you by allowing, by not saving you yet, but see how badly you really want to escape things that are not beneficial for you. So just hang in there, inshallah. Keep making that dua, be proactive, and be purposeful. And inshallah, you'll find khair.
Jazakallah khairan.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
Yeah, I have one if you guys don't mind.
No, please, Tfadal Muhammad.
So this is more of a general question, but it is applicable in this situation that we have here. Is that when you have friends that are like not listening, or like you keep on like reminding them and they get like annoyed with you, when do you like stop, say, yo, this is not worth my time, and I should like have like do that the same reminders with other friends that are actually listening?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough question, but it's a good question. I would say for me, I mean, my philosophy is that you never give up, right? So that's one thing, is that don't give up on people. Be patient. People have been patient with you. People have been patient with me. And that's, we should not really, that one person, I heard about this one guy, and he wasn't like religious or anything, but he was in the market, and he saw that the name of Allah was on the floor and people were stepping on it. And so that really bothered him, He's like, I'm not that religious, but like, that's just wrong. So he took the piece of paper and he hung it up on his wall in a high place, and he perfumed it, and then he hung it up. And he went to sleep, and he had a dream, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had revealed to him that, or had put in his dream, that you beautified my name, and so I will beautify your name in this world and the next. And so that ended up being a huge sheikh. And if somebody had given up on him early, then that would have been something that would not have been possible. So that's one thing. The second thing is I would treat it how I kind of treat sadaqah. You know, don't give your $1,000 check to the person on the street, because there's no way to verify whether or not that person, will be able to use it in the most productive way. But I'll give that person the $5, inshallah, if I have it, or the 20, or whatever, the situation, allows for. And then, inshallah, if I'm blessed to have more than that, $100, $1,000, whatever, then I'll do my research and give that to the organization that's well established. I would do the same thing with friends. The one who you see, this person is really pure and has a good intention and is at least trying. Spend most of your investment there, right? The other one that is you've tried and you tried, and they really just don't care. At a certain point, you don't want people to bring you down. I mean, I'm not going to spend all my time with this one person if they literally don't care themselves. Then they're wasting both of our times, right? So send them still, like I said, don't give up on them. If the opportunity arises, in the way that's most appropriate, like, for example, this is a brother who likes to play soccer. Okay, cool. I'm going to play soccer. Let me invite him with all these other Muslim brothers who are playing soccer, right? That's the right type of dawah. So it's not always about just sending this person a YouTube lecture. That's not going to get somebody who's not on it. You know what I mean? You have to get them in the way that they're interested. Send them something. We joked about Ertugrul. Yeah, but send them that. You know what I'm saying? If there's somebody who likes these history, okay, cool. Then they'll be like proud to be a Muslim again. Then that will open the door for you bringing them. So, as a longer answer to a shorter question, I would say don't give up on them, but at the same time, be purposeful with allocating your time and direct it more so to the people who will be more receptive to it. And for those other people, at least try to find the right mechanisms that they will be most open to, inshallah.
And also, I guess, remember, this is important. Jamaat al-Tabligh, our brothers from Jamaat al-Tabligh, they're very intense on da'wah, and we don't agree with everything they do. But one thing that they always say that always, I think, is very beautiful, they always mention that the only job of the da'i is to plant the seed. Walakin hidayah is in the hands of Allah Ta'ala. So you do what you can, you do everything that you can, but you have to realize that you are never, ever the source of anyone ever being guided. None of us will ever be. Rather, hidayah is in the hands of Allah Ta'ala. It's upon us to work. Think about Nuh alayhi salam, who preached and gave da'wah for 950 years. And the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even he wasn't able to convince so many people. So inshallah, we'll do the best that we can. And like Ahmed said, never get bogged down, inshallah.
You're absolutely right, Brother Abdullah. And even the Prophet ﷺ in the Quran is told on a couple of occasions that I can recall, you are but a messenger. You know what I mean? It's not on you, basically, to guide people, as you're saying, Brother Abdullah. It's very true. And so but what is on us, though, is to convey it, in the most beautiful manner. And like you said, those brothers, alhamdulillah, they have a beautiful intention. I've hung out with them before, and I think, mashallah, their concern for that was amazing. And one area I think of improvement is just how that's given. For example, I was on a trip once where they went to a 7-Eleven, and this brother was working there, and they were giving him dawah, and they were telling him about Islam, and I almost died. I'm like, you are sitting there, customers are over there, like trying to check out, and you're trying to give this brother dawah. That's not the right way, Just like if somebody, but again, there's a lot of good things that they do, so we don't judge anyone. But I'm just talking about beautifying the way of dawah, someone's really super mad or they're in a bad mood. Is that the day for me to tell them about Islam? No, that's not the day for me to tell them about Islam. You find that they're in a good mood, or like they're doing something that's totally irrelevant, totally off topic. All of a sudden, I'm going to be like, we're playing Jenga, and then out of nowhere, I'm like, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said every person, has to deal with death. And, that's not it's like, what? Where are you even coming from? Like, people are just people. So just, be there for them and be responsible with how you guide them, inshallah, and not guide them, like you said, Abdullah, try to be the mechanism through which they are guided. And what I would say is that we should definitely give the best form of da'wah, which is to just purify yourself as much as possible. And when people, that's why, like Imam Ghazali, the proof of Islam, you should be your own proof of Islam. And that people should see through your life. Wow, I used to know that dude. He was conceited and like he used to be all about this. And then now, mashallah, he's like a super nice guy. And Brother Muhammad, love hanging out with him. Super generous. Never hear him lie. Never gossips when people are backbiting. He walks away. I wonder what he's on. What am I on? I'm on deen. And then I can tell them about that. And then you won't have to tell them. They're gonna come ask you. And this was the way of the Sahaba, is that they give the real da'wah, which is through the blessing of action and character. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, I have not come except to perfect character, right? Because character with lutf, with gentleness, right? And subhanallah, Musa, right? Who's Musa? Musa's like one of the most boss prophets ever, right? Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was told to go to Pharaoh. Who is Pharaoh? Worst ever, amongst the worst ever, right? That, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, to speak to him with lutf, be gentle when you speak to him, right? Because, Musa was going to go in there and lay down the smackdown, like, this is Allah, and like, you better like submit. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells one of the best of creation to tell one of the worst of creation. And in that scenario, he's telling him, speak to him with gentleness. And so what about us when we are speaking to others? We have to speak with beauty, have to speak with gentleness, inshallah. And that will be the real form of da'wah, Go to your neighbors when you move in. Even if you're a student, go to your student neighbors who are next to you. Go buy a $5 cake from Publix and bring that to them. And say, in my faith, we believe in being good to our neighbors. And I just want to introduce myself and bring you this cake. Maybe not right now, obviously, with the stuff that's going on. But even then, you can still go and get it, put a note on it, and put it in front of their door. Allah alam, take the path you see best fit and distance yourself. Inshallah, that's not something directly applicable. But still, we should keep this in the back of our mind that, even sending your neighbor a text or an email, thinking about you, and if you need any groceries or something, let me know, inshallah. This is the da'wah, inshallah, that will be most successful.
Any other questions, inshallah? Khair, it's almost 2. Do you think we should close it for today, Ahmed?
Inshallah. Do you want to close this out with the dua?
Khair, inshallah. The only dua that comes to mind right now is, let me think. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا إلا قضيته وعافيته ورحمته برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار. نسأل الله العافية من كل شر يا أرحم الراحمين. That's all we can ask. May Allah Ta'ala protect all of us and our families and the entire ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all of the creation of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala from this disease. May Allah Ta'ala enable us to benefit from this and enable us to see the positives in this and to get closer to Allah Ta'ala, for indeed this is a test. And may not the worst sides of us come out in this, rather the best sides of us come out through this, inshallah.
I mean, and if you benefited, the benefit is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any mistakes from myself. And I apologize for going over long, but alhamdulillah, great to be in this meeting with all of you. May Allah constantly unite us in the best of places in this world and the next. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Again, jazakumullahu khairan kathiran to Brother Ahmed for joining us, and all of you guys as well for joining us as well. May Allah Ta'ala accept from all of us, especially from Brother Ahmed. May Allah Ta'ala reward him and his family. Barakallahu feek. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.